Welcome, fellow fan stands, to the Season 10 Week 1 finals between 8-Whack and Valakut Landfall. 8-Whack's piloted by Connor today. You play haste creatures, you pump them up with bushwhackers, and you swing face. Pretty straightforward. Meanwhile, from the other side, we have Nikolay playing Valakut Ramp, where you ramp out a lot of mountains super quickly, and then bolt everything down with Valakut, the Molten Pinnacle. Here is Game 1. Alright, on your screen we have Connor on the left, playing the 8-Whack deck, and Nikolay on the right. Both players going to be looking at their first 7. We'll see whether or not they need mulligans. Now, both of these decks are just going to be racing against each other. There's not a ton of interaction besides Burst Lightning to deal with opposing creatures, so it's going to be a race to the finish. Nikolay's starting us off with a Ketria Triome. Notably, this Triome does include the Mountain type line, which is very important to amassing and activating Valakut. Connor's going to start things off with this Plated Geopede. It's a 1-1 with first strike, landfall gets +2/+2. And Nikolay's got the Turbo Ramp line locked up with double Colony Heart Expedition. We're going to play a Scalding Tarn and fetch for a mountain. This will activate both of the colonies twice. Fetches really powerful with landfall abilities. And we're doing the Burst Lightning now because land drops can't be interacted with. It'll put a trigger on the stack, and if there's a fetch involved, then with that trigger on the stack, you can just fetch again in response to a Burst Lightning. But Connor does have another Plated Geopede in play. A little bit of a slower start for this 8-Whack deck, but the Geopede can really push through opposing creatures like this Ramnop Excavator. 3 toughness, really crucial in a Disfigure and Goblin Guide format, but Geopede becomes a 3/3. Now, Ramanop Excavator allowing you to get lands from your graveyard. Connor asking about the Colony Heart Expeditions. They are ready to be cracked. Now, Connor will play Earthshaker Kenra. It's a 2-1 with haste that when it enters, target creature an opposing player controls can't block this turn with power less than or equal to the Earthshaker Kenra. So that Ramanok Excavator cannot block this turn. This Plated Geopede's gotten 3 landfall triggers, so it's a 7/7. With this kicked Goblin Bushwhacker, we're looking at a ton of damage. Yeah. 13 damage coming across. All in one go. Bushwhacker pumping up the team just makes damage come out of nowhere. But we saw Connor wait to fetch for that past turn. Now Nikolay is going to fetch their own for an Hour of Promise. Right now they're explaining that they're going to grab 2 Valakut the Molten Pinnacles from their library. Have 5 mountains in play, and then when they fetch with the Colony Heart Expeditions, each Valakut is going to trigger for 3 damage 4 times. And that's a bunch of damage to the dome, 24, and Connor has to pack it up. Now game 2, Connor will have the chance to be on the play this time. It really was the difference of 1 turn that got Nikolay the victory there. They were for sure going to be dead the next turn. But both players keeping their 7. Connor leading with a mountain. Nikolay again with the Ketria Triome. The only Gruul Triome that we have available to us in Season 10. Nikolay, a Gruul deck. So that'll be their Triumph of choice. Connor just leading off with Earthshaker Kenra, going to get 2 points of damage in. Not too many creatures from Nikolai's side, and not too many creatures that they'd want to block with either. So putting out this Kenra, you're not losing very much value from that ETB. If the game ends up going very long, which probably won't too much with how fast each of these decks are, the Earthshaker Kenra can eternalize from the graveyard for 6 mana, becoming a 4/4 haster with the same ability. Got Geopleed coming out. Looks like we're waiting to see if there's a response from the trigger. Connor will fetch for a mountain and then play Goblin Guide. That's 4 damage coming across. Scalding Tarn, revealed by the Goblin Guide, going to go straight to Nikolai's hand, as whenever Goblin Guide attacks, it reveals the top card of the library. And if it's a land, you put it into the player's hand. Nikolai right away going to cast Kozilek's Return, even though that it is an instant speed card. Similar to last game, we don't want that plated Geopede to get too big and kind of dodge this 2 damage. Rough that you can't really hold that though. Connor's deck is all about haste creatures, and we're going to see a kicked Goblin Bushwhacker into a surged Reckless Bushwhacker. Surge can be, you can play something for its surge cost if you cast another spell already that turn. And that was a chunk of 5 damage coming in. Nikolai has got a Valakut in play, but it's going to be a while till that can activate. Need 5 mountains in play, and then it's the 6th one that actually happens, unless you do some tricks with Harrow or Hour of Promise. But here we have an Oracle of Moldiah that'll reveal the top card of Nikolai's library. They can play an additional land every turn, and they can play lands from the top of their library. Nikolai has revealed Mina and Den Wildborn, which is very similar to Oracle in playing additional lands, but it can also bounce lands. Connor going to Burst Lightning, the blocker, play a Mutavault, and attack with the other Mutavault. These Mutavaults are going to be difficult for Nikolai to deal with, as they'll just need to either put blockers in front or have some sort of instant speed reaction to them. Looks like Nikolai was thinking about playing a Ramanop Excavator, but decided against it. Instead, we'll use Pulse of Marasa. Now, this is a sideboard card. You return a permanent from your graveyard to your hand, and then gain 6 life. So we're going to return Scalding Tarn. We really need to make sure we keep hitting our land drops. And we'll just pass the turn. Connor has the ability to activate both Mutavaults, attack for 7 damage. And this is a safe line because Nikolai doesn't have 3 mana up for a Kozilek's Return to just completely wipe Connor's whole board. Nikolai back down to 2 life. Gonna play that Scalding Tarn that they grabbed last turn with the Pulse. Sort of like a Time Walk effect. Nikolai really thinking about how they can get out of here. If they fetch for 2, if they fetch down to 1 and then Hour of Promise, they can get rid of the Goblin Bushwhackers, but that'll leave them open to Mutavault. They'll need a instant speed answer. So like Harrow or Colony Heart Expedition, but the expedition's not available at this time. Harrow would only be able to deal with 2 things. Maybe if you go Harrow into Harrow, you could live. But Nicolay not able to get out of that one, and Connor takes it. So we're going to a game 3 in week 1 finals. Game 3 here, we'll have Nicolay on the play. Looks like they're keeping their hand, but Connor has to do a mulligan. And it looks like a 2-lander with Mutavault. Probably putting away the Leosaur would be my guess. Now puts away something else instead. Nicolay leads with Mountain, probably signaling that they have a Burst Lightning. Goblin Guide will reveal a Romnock Excavator on the top of the library, and yes, there is that Burst Lightning for the Goblin Guide. Pass it over to Nicolay. Yeah, normally on turn 1 you want to develop your mana with Triomes, as we see here with that Ketria Triome. So leaving up mana turn 1 either means you don't have a Triome or a fetch to find one, or you have something sneaky up your sleeve. But nothing for turn 2 from Nicolay. Connor gonna go for Forbidden Friendship. This makes a 1/1 dinosaur with haste and a 1/1 1/1 human soldier without haste. That's 2 bodies for Bushwhacka, but Nicolay going to play that Romnock Excavator that they revealed last turn before it meets a swift end by Oath of Chandra. Oath of Chandra, on ETB, it deals 3 damage to a creature, and then if a Planeswalker is attacked, you get to deal 2 damage to the other player, the player who attacked it. But these decks, very linear game plans, very quickly going through the turns. Connor did miss a land drop. That's going to hurt development, hurt surging any Bushwhackas. Nicolay still having Excavator available. Doesn't get the guaranteed card from the graveyard of the Arid Mesa. Rather wants to develop this Valakut early. We could see land drop into Hour of Promise to bolt down a couple things on the board. But in the meantime, Connor will play Earthshaker Kenra and swing in for 4 damage. Here goes the second Valakut. We're really ramping up for a huge turn, it seems. Played a Geopede, Arid Mesa to pump up the Geopede. Now if we have a Bushwhacka here, this could be nuts, as it would give that plated Geopede haste, and we could swing for a ton of damage. This Geopede now is a 5/5 first striker. Does Connor have it? And he does. He has the Surge Reckless Bushwhacka. Gonna attack for what is that? 7 plus 6 is 13, 14, 15 damage. Oh, but Nicolay with the Kozilek's Return, dealing 2 damage to every creature at instant speed. And there's the question here, does Nicolay want to block with the Excavator? This is a 6/5 first striker. So the Geopede would live. Romnock would die. And Nicolay takes the damage. They need this Romnock Excavator. Let's see. What's the play? Connor, low on resources, 1 card in hand, Mutavault in play, and plated Geopede against this 2/3 blocker looking huge. Nicolay, I think he flashed an Hour of Promise, which would get the Valakuts online, and then you can fetch with Arid Mesa to bolt down the Geopede. Or even hold the Arid Mesa so you can bolt down a Mutavault that tries to get feisty. Nicolay really thinking through all the lines. This is critical. It's the final game of the final match in the very first week. Both players have played very well to get to this point. And the lines, even though you're ramping really quick with Valakut, there are chains of ramp into ramp. So the mana lines become very confusing, or there's a lot of options available. Let's see. Nicolay goes for Hour of Promise. Got 2 Valakuts in play. We find that Ketria Triome and another Ketria Triome. We make a Scalding Tarn our land drop for turn. So yeah, here they're really valuing the instant speed interaction they have available with Scalding Tarn, as they could have activated 2 Valakuts for twice for a total of, what is that, 12 damage. But this is a safer line. The Geopede potentially getting bigger here. If Nicolay lets this happen, then the Geopede can get out of range. Become a 5/5. Would need to interact by fetching now. Couldn't use a Burst Lightning here. Let's see. It looks like the trigger probably resolved, as it looks like Connor's thinking about what action to take. We make Mutavault a creature, and go to combat, and attack. Likely wanting to have Leo Sword there is Connor, but knowing that if they crack the Mesa first, if they blink first, then that Geopede is gone. Alright. We're gonna fetch. And it looks like Connor had no response to the fetch. We've got a mountain in play, 2 Valakut triggers. Oh, and we can just send both at the plated Geopede. And then block. At 5 is Nicolay. Connor will fetch and buy Gigantha into hand. It's looking like Nicolay might have turned the corner, though there is always the possibility of land into kicked burst lightning. So Nikolay has to be very careful. If they use a fetch land, then they'll open themselves up to potentially just getting burned out when they are the Valakut burn deck themselves. We've got 8 mana available for Nikolay. We could buy Giganta ourselves and put it into play. Looks like there's a Kozilek's Return in hand for Nikolay. Though it'd be difficult for Connor to have double hasters, maybe, with only 2 cards in there. But we're going to deal 6 damage to face with our mountain. And yeah, Giganta as good as Kozilek's Return here, just keeping blockers back, but we're using our mana much more efficiently. Connor draws a land, which is casting the Giganta. And with Ramanop Excavator, we're representing, 1 to 8 damage. But with Oracle of Moldiah, that represents a lot more damage because we can play the Scalding Tarn from our graveyard twice and just bolt down Connor. And Nikolay is our Week 1 Finals champion with Valakut Landfall. Nikolay here proving that they do have the Golden Mountains in their library. Congratulations.